So then, morning update time. Now, last night I was fortunate enough, or this morning should I say, early this morning, to catch myself another carp, and it was a big one as well, a little under 55 pound, which I personally think, you know, if you're coming out to France, I'm targeting a 40 pound fish if I come to France. In all honesty, when you're fishing at home in the UK, majority of the lakes only have a handful of 40 pound fishing. So when you're coming abroad to France, I always like to think, if I can leave with a 40 pounder, I've had a proper touch. I've caught a 50 pounder. What more could I possibly want? Yes, I know there's so many other big carp in here, but for me, it's mission complete in terms of what I wanted to achieve on this fishing trip. But as you would have seen, Mark has had another incredible night's fishing. He caught one, a 57 pounder, I believe, one known as the long common. Now, it was a fish that I dearly wanted to catch before I come out here. Mark has in fact caught it before on previous trips, but it does have history of coming out twice in quick succession. So even though he has caught it, I'm not sort of too disappointed because it could come out again, but just to see that fish in the flesh, you know, when I netted it, I was like, is there any catfish in here? Because it's that long, and he knew straight away then from that comment exactly what fish it was. But it's just like a common of proportions that I've never seen. You know, 57 pound common that's only sort of 12, 14 inches deep. Just an incredible carp. And aside from that as well, he's had another couple of other big ones, and Jamie's had a 60 pounder next to him as well. So there's so many big fish in here to go for. And even though they've got off to a better start than what I have, we have got a slight change in weather now. It's blowing a warm wind up to the end where they were. They're able to access a lot of water with the 6 rods that they're fishing from the one peg. And I feel that the water that they're covering, obviously it's a larger expanse, so therefore you've got a higher probability of being near a fish. Now, there isn't loads of fish in here. They're not shoal fish. They're just sort of, I don't know, it's almost like they're just like grumpy old men, you know. They're just pottering around, and there's one there, there's one 20 yards away, and they all command their own bit of space. And obviously the more your rods are fanned out, the better your chances are of getting more bites. And I think that's what's happened certainly up there. But the wind was blowing up there and it was quite warm, but today it's done a complete 180 and it's blowing down into the bay, or the end of the lake that I'm fishing, should I say. Now, I've had a bite both nights. If I end this trip with a bite every night, I'm going to have, what, 6 fish? If I could come away and catch 6 fish, you know what? I've had a much better week than I could have ever expected. One thing that I will be doing today is I'll be sitting on my hands. I've actually managed to leave the rods out today. Yesterday I reeled them in just because we was having a few problems with the smaller fish, but when I reeled in the other 2 rods this morning that I didn't have the bite on, they actually wasn't touched. They was absolutely fine. So I'm going to put them back out, and if I get any indication, then obviously I'll bring them back in. But another thing that I'm doing as well is I'm going to stick to the spots that I found. I think what I did yesterday is maybe slightly panicked. I don't know, like, I don't think it matters how many times you go fishing or how experienced you feel you are. If other people are catching, you always have that element of doubt, and sometimes you have to sort of sit back, you know, just take a little look at what you're doing, know what you're doing's working, make a couple of small changes, but ultimately sit on your hands. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be sitting on the spots that I've found, bringing them back in later, re-dropping them just before it gets dark. And I'm confident in them spots. You know, I've seen them all from above. I know what they look like. I know what they feel like because I've prodded them as well. I'm all clipped up to them. And as well, I heard fish down this end. And both nights now, I've heard one fish in particular show a couple of times. And I know we all say they sound different, but this fish does sound very different. And the end that I'm in does have past form for producing the lake record, which is a fish over 80 pound. And the fishing that I would normally do would sort of swerve me to run up the top end where they're getting the bites and go after the multiple hitter fish. But I think for this particular trip, where I've had such a great year fishing anyway, it's a bit more of a holiday type chill. We're here filming. I'm happy to sit it out down here, because if that rips off and it's an 80 pounder, it's not every day of the week you get to fish for one. But I'm in a lot happier place today as what I was in yesterday. Not that I was in a real bad place with how I was fishing, but I've ironed out all of the problems I feel, and I'm fishing much more effectively and taking that confidence forward. I'm almost certain that there's another couple of chances, and you never know, one of them real big ones could appear.
Well, it's been a really productive session so far. Last night, another 3 fish to my tally, which included an old friend, actually, an absolutely incredible looking carp called the long common. You can see why it gets its name. I actually caught that fish twice on my session here. Last year I had it twice in, I think, 36 or 48 hours. And while it was nice to reacquaint myself with such an amazing carp, I would have dearly loved Tom to have caught that fish. It was a fish he was talking about leading up to this session. He said, if I catch that fish, it not only made my session, it's made my year. I would have loved for him to have caught that. So I did give it a quick weigh, even though I have caught the fish before. I did weigh it quickly, more for Graham, the fishery owner's record, to see how the fish is progressing. And it happened to weigh, I think, 57.7, I think the weight was. So yeah, it's an absolute unit of a fish. And yeah, it's you can see how long it is. It's almost like a grass carp. I think when Tom actually went down to land it, he said, "Is that a catfish?" That's how long this carp is. It's huge. So yeah, an epic carp. It wasn't the biggest one. Obviously had that 58-pounder as well. So it has been a great start to this session, considering the lake has been fishing so slowly in recent weeks. I think I'm right in saying in the past 3 weeks leading up to this session, I think the lake's only done, I think I'm right in saying 5 bites. So to have caught 7 so far, so early on in this session, I'm pretty happy with that. And I think the reason that this trip has been so successful for me is down to the rig and the hook baits I'm using. And that's it, it's a worm rig. Now this lake is a pretty weedy lake, and coming into this time of year now, right at the back end of autumn, the weed is dying down and it is exposing lots of natural food items. And with the weed exposing all those natural food items like shrimps and snails and things like that, the carp can become preoccupied on these natural baits, and they can be very difficult to tempt on a conventional boilie approach. That's why I'm trying to replicate what they are feeding on by using a bunch of worms. And I do think this is the reason why this session has been so productive, when considering the lake hasn't been on top form in recent weeks. And I'm going to show you exactly how to tie this rig right now. So first up, I've got my hook link of choice, which is the Fox Camatech Soft in 35-pound. Here I've got about 14 inches of the hook link material, and I'm going to strip back about 5 inches of the coating. Now I've stripped that back, I tie quite a large overhand loop at the end of the braid. I then tie on a rig ring about 2 inches back up from the braid. Next we thread on a size 4 wide gape long shank hook. So with the hook threaded down our hook link material, I then pass the point of the hook through the rig ring. The rig ring's positioned so it sits just below level with the barb. I then secure the hook in place with a simple knotless knot. Next up, I've got a neon yellow Carp Freaks pop-up which I've trimmed down, and we thread that onto our hair. Then, using a baiting needle, I'm going to thread on 7 or 8 worms onto our hair. I then secure these in place first of all with a rubber caster, and then we add our boilie stop. Next we thread our Carp Freak pop-up down the hair so all the worms are nicely bunched together and secured in place. And that's it, that's our finished rig. You can see how it sits in the water, just wafting around enticingly. You've got a little fleck of colour just to catch the eye of any passing carp. And with the added movement of the worms, it really is a devastating combination.
The rest of the day passed uneventfully, and the night also passed without any occurrence. The change in the weather could well have had an impact, and with the other lads also catching nothing throughout the night, Tom was beginning to get itchy feet, contemplating a move.
Well, it was a quiet night for me last night. I heard one early on, just to the right of where I was fishing, but I was awake a fair bit of the night, and even though these are very big fish, and when you're hearing them, it does sound quite deceptive where they are. The corner that I'm stood in now, which is the first corner that you drive in on, I'm almost 99.9% sure that they was more this side than my side. Now, when I fish with, well, should I say, when I fished lakes in the past that have got a lot of weed in them, what you generally tend to find is the fish aren't necessarily going to move out of that weed. Even though I'm fishing in sort of a lighter weedy area, part of the lake, so to speak, where I am, if there's a load of weed over here, these fish are just going to stay inside it. They're not going to move. They don't have any need to move. You know, there's warmth inside the weed. There's natural food inside the weed. And it's not a case like a lot of the places that I fish where you can drag those fish to you with the use of the bait that you're putting in. Somewhere like here, even though it's the first time I've ever been here, you can sort of see straight away that you've got to move to them. Now, I know when you're abroad, you get loads of gear out, but I don't really bring that much kit with me, so it's no drama for me to pack down and move. And I think if I don't move, I'd be driving away from here on Saturday kicking myself that I should have moved. So I think today, it's nice and bright, it's nice and dry. The gears is, you know, it's not going to get soaking wet moving it. It's a comfortable day to move. I think I'm going to have a little look around here, and I think I'm pretty sure a move is on the cards. And it just looks nice in here. It's off the back of this cold northerly wind, the sun's beating down into it, the weeds to the surface. It just looks a lot better than where I am now. So I'm going to have a little look. There's a couple of swims that I could move to up this end of the lake. I'm just going to sort of weigh up what would be the better option.
Tom made the decision to move to the opposite end to Mark and Jamie. This way he could fish the entire bottom end of the lake without disturbing where the fish were thought to be sitting. The van made the move a lot quicker, and it wasn't long before the kit was in the new swim.
Well, here I am then in my new swim. I didn't actually go in the very first peg that I looked in around on the other side, just because I thought the line angles and the way in which it sort of is situated within the lake, the peg that I'm actually in now would give me a better option, albeit it is right in the teeth of this cold northerly wind. But I am sitting here now with a whole new lease of confidence. I don't know what it is, I just feel a million times happier around here. Where I was is a good area, but I was hearing fish, and I'm convinced they must have been around sort of in front of me here and to my right, which is where nobody's fished all week. And very fortunate that we can move on this particular trip because there is only the three of us on the lake, so it does give each of us plenty of water. But like I've said in the past, you know, it does pose different problems, and it means that there's large areas of the lake that's unfished and unpressured, so to speak. And this is normally where certainly pressured carp, like what they are in here, end up moving to. And as well, you know, and I'll never ever be afraid to ask for help or some assistance or be amazed by technology. I've got Cecil the vessel, bless him, but this lake is exceptionally weedy. You know, if you look at it from an aerial view, it is like a playing field, and you're having to find really small spots. And the way in which I'm finding them with the rowing boat, prodding stick, H blocks, then sending the boat out, then clipping it up, I'm already putting spooky carp on a lot more edge than certainly what Jamie and Mark are with the boats that they're using. Now, Jamie is in fact going to come around here this evening, and he is going to help me get the rods out, you know, and I've got no shame in saying that. I'm here for 1 week. I've got 1 week to try and make it happen and to try and go home with a fish bigger than what I've already caught. There's been fish bigger than what I've already caught already out this week, and I'm not afraid to ask for a bit of help. And you know, the boat that he's got, a carp lounge boat, it has blown me away. When I've watched him use it in his peg, it is the difference between night and day. And while Cecil the vessel is an absolutely amazing piece of kit for this particular venue, technology, I feel, is definitely going to help me put the extra carp on the bank. And I'm hoping now that I've moved, I'm going to be using Jamie's boat later to get my rods out with. I'm going to be sitting here tonight, a completely different angler with miles more confidence, and I'm almost certain that over the next couple of days, fishing down this end of the lake, I'm going to be getting myself another carp or two. So yeah, I've moved, reset the camp, going to go down the shop now, have a freshen up, and nothing beats having a nice shower before coming back round to the peg, getting these rods out, and hopefully getting myself another Deux Pierres carp.
After a quick shop run and shower, it was time to get the rigs prepped whilst waiting for Jamie's bait boat. Mark had already dropped his rigs, and whilst waiting, we were treated to an incredible sunset. We were hoping the saying of red sky at night, shepherd's delight was going to be true.
Right, we're just getting the rods sorted now, so I've loaded the boat up. Jamie's here with the handset, controller, all singing, all dancing, gadget pad. Yeah, it's like the difference between night and day, this is. Just, you know, I'm a confident angler anyway, but this just gives me so much more confidence, especially with how small these holes in the weed. I mean, I'm looking here at this, and you know, you're just looking at it and you see the little holes, like the little flat spots on the bottom, and unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Right, here's a clear spot, and then look at that, it's the button. Donk. Unreal. It'd have taken me about an hour and a half to do that. Look at that, look, you see the bait and the lead coming down. It would have taken me about an hour and a half to do that. A lot of noise, a lot of vibrations, and just shows using technology to your advantage. I've got no problem at all in admitting that I would like to use more technology in my own fishing. Unbelievable. I'm going to sink that line down now, bring it back in, get the other two out. Job's a good one. We're fishing.
With the use of Jamie's boat, 3 rods were positioned in no time in holes in a weed. Now it's just a waiting game.
So that's the last rod in position. All of them have gone bang on. I'm more confident tonight than any of the other nights that I've been here so far. And another thing as well, because of how shallow it is and the nature of the bottom, it's quite like a clay colour bottom. With the blue dyeing, you can see very easily sort of where fish have disturbed the bottom. And there were a couple of cloudy patches out here when we got back from the shops earlier on as well. So I am super confident tonight. There isn't really a lot more else I can do now. I can just turn these on, sit back, chill out. We're going to have a nice bit of dinner tonight. And like I say, I am so confident that tonight is the night. Again, I know I've used technology, but using technology to your advantage, it is there. You know, it's there to be used. And on a place like this, you know, we've come out here, we've got 1 week to try and have the best trip we possibly can. I've seen what technology can achieve. I've fished how I wanted to fish. I've still caught how I wanted to fish, but I'm hoping with the aid of a little bit of technology, there might be another big one on the horizon. So I'm going to flick these on now, sit back, have a coffee and cross them fingers. Well, I just had a bite. Oh, it's gone in the weed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump in my vessel and I'm going to jump out, or go out, and hopefully I can get one in. Oh, my heart's pounding. Right, I've got a clip here somewhere. Safety first and all that. Right. Brad, can you do us a favour? Can you lift that right hand rod up in a second, please? Well, this one's on out here, yeah. Not ideal being in the boat, but hopefully there's another carp to be had here. Come on. Now, by no means am I a boat expert. There he is. Only a small mirror. Yes! We're in. Oh, what a result, another one. I said I was confident tonight. Yes. Now I just got to get my big fat ass back to shore. Yes. Get on. Get on. That's what it's all about. Looks like a 30-pounder. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'll pass you that, you can pull me in then. Lovely. Thank you very much. Oh. Bloody out of breath, I know that. Only road out there. A bit bigger than what I first thought. Looking like 41 pound and 8 ounces. Ha ha! A 30, a 40 and a 50. Oh, buzzing with that. Well worth the effort of moving. Being bothered to move and modern day technology has caught me a carp. Yes! Right, let's have him on. Well, the move has definitely paid off, as you can see here now. I've got myself another Deux Pierres mirror carp. This one, 41 pounds and 8 ounces. Look at that, a proper bruiser. Had to go out in a boat to get it in. Again, I'm not the best in a boat, but it popped up in front of me and just swum straight into that weight in there, and I'm not going to complain about that at all. He's a little bit lively. I will lift him back up just so you can have another look. Again, like we've already said, out here all the fish have got to be dealt with in the water, which is a really, really good rule, because if they start going a little bit mad like this one, I can just simply relax him back, wait for him to calm down, spin him over, and there he is. 41 pounds and 8 ounces of Deux Pierres mirror. Ha ha. Back to his freezing cold home now. This water is not nice. Look at that though. Proper deep bodied French bad boy. 40 pounder. Oh, you don't know how happy that makes me. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. The move has paid off, and it is only early in the evening as well. And since we've got that fish in the net, I've heard a couple of more fish out here as well. The rod is back out there, it's bang on the money. And yeah, confidence, like I've already said, going into tonight was high, but it's even higher now. Come on.
We'd not long turned in for the night when Tom's rod was off yet again. It weeded him up immediately, leaving no choice but to jump in the boat again and head out into the darkness.
There's the carp. There's the carp. And it's going back out again. Got the weed on, doesn't help. Right, and I'm calming down. Some deep breaths. Looks like a 40 pounder. It's unbelievable when you get above them with this weed. Just pull them straight out. But the issue is because I haven't got a motor, I'm at the peril of the carp, because as soon as the carp pulls, I can't stop. Going towards it. What I want is that weed to slide over its eye, then for it to come up. If there's a god up there, that's what's going to happen in a second. Come on. There he is, see him? Get in there! Go on, you fat bastard! That's a good fish. Whew! Take a minute, boys. Take a minute. Oh. Oh. That's a big fish. Oh. Oh, I've had to burp, I've had to fart. God, I'm too fat. So I'm unhealthy. That's a big CineCarp. Bite me line. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that for a carp. Get in, that's what we come for. Oh. Yes. Oh, it's made me a bit emotional. Sitting out here on this lake on my own, feeling like a fat Bob James from Passion for Angling. Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. Right, gonna paddle back now. Look at the size of that. Look at that. That is what we come for. That is what we come for. Yes. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's a big fish. That is a big, big fish. That'll do. That'll do. It's a big carp. Whoa. Oh, it's heavier than I thought. I think it's bigger than you think, that. Isn't it?
I think it's growing. Go and look. Go and look.
57.
7, 10.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Buzzing. Absolutely buzzing. Oh. Gonna get that back in the water, rod back out. What a difference a move and a bit of help can make. Top tip, never ever be ashamed to ask someone for help. Yes. Thanks very much, cheers. Well, how about this one then? 57 pounds, 10 ounces. Look at that bad boy. Had to land it from a boat, and you'd have probably seen by that bit of footage, I'm no expert, but look at that, 57.10. The move has been well worth it. What a beast. Yes. Off you go then, mate. 57 pound French giant. That's what it's all about. Look at the width of that. Proper size carp. Well, they're getting bigger, and there's still a lot bigger out there, so you never know. You're one bite closer to that big one every single time. But you know what? And I'll keep saying it, but I've made the move and it's paid off. I've had more this evening than I've had the whole week that I've been here, or the 4 nights that I've been here so far. Never be afraid to pack up and move. Oh. Bait is always a big topic of conversation whenever you're looking to book a holiday abroad. First and foremost, and something that's popped up in recent years, is are you actually allowed to take bait across with you into Europe? Well, talking from my own personal experiences, I've been over several times since the whole COVID thing has been in place and people have been worried about bringing bait over, and I can hand on heart say that I've never ever been checked. So I don't think personally it is a problem at all to bring over whatever bait you wish to bring to France. Now also as well, what is a talking point when you come to France is how much bait do you bring and what bait do you bring exactly. Now the way I treat a trip whenever I come to France is I treat it like I'm going fishing in England, but for just 3 times as long. Usually my sessions in the UK are around 36 to 48 hours. Obviously when you're coming over to France, you're looking at doing a week. Yes, the lakes that you're going to have got bigger fish in them and you will probably end up using more bait. But what I like to do is to work out what bait I'm going to be bringing over based on 3 lots of 48 hours and just add a small percentage on of each ingredient just in case I do end up going through it. There's nothing worse than coming abroad, not bringing enough bait and having to borrow bait or having to buy bait whilst you're out here. But at the same time, you don't want to bring mountains of bait out here, having to take loads of it back with you. So I'm just going to run through the bait that I've brought with me now and the reason why I bring each individual item over with me when I'm fishing on the continent. So first things first, boilies. It's late in the year now, the water temperature is drastically cooling down. Manila for me is a fantastic winter bait. Carp out in France are massive, they're big because they eat. You have to have some form of boilie in your mix, purely and simply because when these big fish come over you, they want the most amount of nutrients as possible, and these boilies are absolutely packed full of goodness. But one thing that I do that I feel gives me an advantage over certainly a lot of people when they're starting out on these French lakes is I will always wash out a couple of kilo prior to my trip. So 24, 36 hours before I'm due to leave, I'll take a few kilos of these boilies into a bucket, a bit of the matching liquid, and I'll fill it with water so I've got bait washing out for when I arrive. Now the reason why I do this is because when you turn up to a lake in France, everybody has got loads of bait, it's all fresh, it's just come out of the freezer, it's just been rolled, and you're turning up to a lake and you think that you're putting your bait out there and these carp have never seen a boilie in their life. Well, let me tell you, the guys that have been there the week before you have been putting bait out, the guys that have been there the week before them have been putting bait out, and if you go putting fresh bait on top of old bait, it can take a good few days to get your session underway. And I found that by washing my boilies out prior to coming, I've always hit the ground running on the first or the second night on the trip. And then what I'll do, when I arrive at the lake, I get another bucket of boilies on soak. So in effect, I'm always working 48 hours in advance. So I know then that when I put my first initial bait out on that first day, it looks like to the fish that my bait has already been in the water 48 hours. And like I've already said, every time I've been abroad, always on the first or the second night, I've always hit the ground running and had early results. Now moving on from the boilies, another bait that you simply cannot ignore, is pellets. Again, pellets serve multiple purposes within my angling, and they just give a different dimension to the bait. They're loaded full of attraction. A lot of these French fisheries, the fish will have been reared on pellets, and it also gives me options. If I want to make my mix nice and tacky and ball it in, certainly if I'm fishing on deeper lakes, I'm able to add the pellets in, they go nice and tacky, and I'm able to ball my bait in and get it down to the bottom quicker. And not only that as well, if throughout the course of the week I want to fish with PVA bags, I've got the pellets here that enable me to do that perfectly. And finally, natural bait. Now I know you would have watched all of my videos and you would have known how much I go on about adding natural bait into your mix. Now when you're coming out to France or anywhere on the continent, certainly at this time of year, yes, I've got the basis of a fantastic mix with my boilies, with my pellets and any particles that I want to add, but with natural baits, that extra little bit of pulling power can sometimes be the difference between catching one or two or having the session of a lifetime. As you can see here, I've got worms and I've got casters. Worms, fantastic bait. They need no introduction. They are loaded full of amino acids. Once these are chopped up fresh, added to any mix, the pulling power these add is just second to none. And casters, the main reason why I like casters, certainly when traveling to France, much like worms, is they keep for a good length of time. If you was to bring maggots over here, after a couple of days they would start to sweat, they would start to turn, and it's almost impossible out here to go to any French shop and be able to buy maggots in bulk, which is what I'd be bringing over, certainly with the casters and the worms. I know that these worms here, bring these out here, if I don't end up using them, I can take them back home because these will last weeks in these bags, certainly on a cold garage floor at this time of year. Casters as well, keep them in a cool bag, keep them sealed, these will always last the length of time as well. So there you go, that's the bait that I brought out with me to Deux, Pierres. Very, very similar to what I use back home in the UK, but like I always say all the time, each bait that I bring with me has a purpose. They all catch carp, mixed together in the right environment, you can have a fantastic session.
Well, today definitely has a wintry vibe to it. It's a really grey, dull day, and the fishing's totally turned around for me. I've not heard or seen anything in front of me well, for a couple of days now, actually. I did get one small fish last night of around 28 pounds, something like that. But I do feel like a lot of the fish that were here I've definitely moved up there at the other end of the lake. Tom's had a bit of action, Jamie as well, he's fishing sort of over in that direction, he's had a few takes. But yeah, it's looking a bit bleak in more ways than one, I think. Yeah, I think, I mean, I've got another night to go, but yeah, I do feel like my chances are very, very limited now. But there is always a chance, and it would be nice to get just one more fish before it's time for me to call it a day.
As usual, nothing occurred in the day, but Tom's rigs were prepped for the redrop just before darkness. This time, Tom used his own boat so not to disturb Jamie, but he also knew where the spots were, meaning he could get the rod sorted in no time. That evening was another stunning sunset, and Tom was as optimistic as ever, knowing that there were potentially 2 80-pound fish in the zone.
Brad. Oh, I am in on my left-hand rod. I don't know what woke me up. It isn't far off a first light anyway. I was just laying in my bed and I could hear a few showing out to the left. The wind sort of switched, sort of blowing over our left shoulder into the opposite bank. So the bay round to the left is sort of in the lee of the wind. And I've heard about 2 or 3 in the last hour, and this is my rod that's closest to them. And yeah, it just pulled up tight, fishing tight clutches anyway. And I'm in to another carp. It is gradually moving through the weed. I'm not going to jump in the boat straight away because it is moving, and I brought it in quite a way now. So I'm just going to keep the pressure on, and hopefully we can get another carp in the net. I think he's a whopper. have a bite though. Gotta be honest with you. He's a 40-pounder, isn't he? There he is. Looks like we're going to have ourselves another Pierre carp in the net. That'll do lovely. Yes! Yes, another one. Oh, what a result. Landed it from the bank as well, so minimal disturbance. Another good fish, that is. Yes! Rod on the old rest. Oh, he's a wide one. Short, wide one he is. Well, here we go then. This is the one that I just had, 42.5 pound, a proper solid looking mirror carp. Look at that. I kept him for half hour just while the light broke, because all of the fish that I've had so far have been right in the middle of the night, and this one, it's nice to see them in all their glory in the day. Look at that, 42.5 pound, bite number 5, carp number 5, a 30, 2 40s, 2 50s. Been way better than I ever expected it to be.
The last morning was a beautiful way to end the trip, and the dry weather allowed for a speedy pack down to hit the road. Mark and Jamie had already left for an early crossing, and we had to leave the fishery by 10 AM, meaning there was no time to hang it out.
I'm sure I'm not the only one, and whenever you finish a session, whether it's at home or abroad, you always drive away and you're analysing the trip in your head, what you could have done different on the particular trip that you've just been on, and what you would also do different when you go out again next year. Now, I've just had the most amazing week's fishing out at Deux, Pierres. I've seen some unbelievable fish caught, but how this week panned out, I definitely feel I should have been driving home having caught more fish than what I ended up with. Don't get me wrong, not in any way, shape or form am I unhappy or despondent with what I had, because my average fish for the week worked out to be just under 47 pounds, which is incredible. But there was a few things that let me down. I think first of all, the biggest thing was technology. Now I know carp fishing isn't all about technology, and I was able to catch the fish, or certainly the first couple of fish, fishing how I would want to fish, which is going out in the boat, finding the spots, then dropping the rigs via the bait boat. But on a lake like that, you know, we've only got a week to catch these fish, the same as all of you guys have when you book a lake. And when you've got only that short period of time, you want to make the most of that time. You know, you might not be going back to that lake, or you might have to wait a whole nother year to go back there. And making the most of every opportunity is what these trips are all about. You know, there's no point going there with the attitude of, oh, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it the next day, oh, I'll do it when I come out here again. Technology this time around, you know, seeing Jamie's bait boat, seeing how much that improved my confidence, my I would say catch ratio. I'd had 2 prior to using it. I ended up catching 3 more when I used Jamie's bait boat. So it wasn't like it made a massive difference, but it just made me so much more confident. And I think definitely going forward, doing as much research as you can about the lake, finding out as much as you can before you go, is a massive, massive thing. And, you know, I'm driving away here now thinking, right, we're going back to there next year. We spoke to the owner, we've got the same week next year. I know straight away, to set me off on the front foot, I will need a boat or a GPS Echo with the same capabilities as what Jamie's had, and that will put me in good stead to compete and catch as many as I feel I physically can from that particular venue. Now, another thing that I've done this week is obviously I move swims. A lot of people, like I've already said, will go away and they won't move. They'll sit there, they'll stay in their peg, and they'll have the attitude of, well, I'm there for a week, the fish swim, they will come over me, which again is a valid point. Yes, they do swim around, the angling pressure moves them and they will come over you. But what we found with this place is the corners of the lake is where they ended up. And that's the beauty with carp fishing, is you're always learning. You know, there's never 2 days of the same. We had lower air pressure during the start of the week. The fishing was brilliant. You know, Mark got off to a flying start. I had a couple early on, And then when the weather changed, that affected it massively. But it was knowing how to change and how to adapt for them conditions. And I feel that if I would have carried on with the rowing boat, prodding around finding spots, when the air pressure rose and the temperatures cooled down, the fish were a lot harder to catch. They was on edge a lot more, you know, they were sort of ghosting around a lot more. We could visibly see them with the drone, whereas at the start of the week, the air pressure was low. And even though it was only 5 foot, we couldn't actually see anything down on the bottom. You know, they were right tucked in the weed bed, which is obviously where they were foraging for all the naturals. As soon as that air pressure rose, they were up out the weed beds and they were scooting around. And I think they were so much more aware of what was going on when the air pressure was higher, that having that boat enabled me to find the spots a lot more easy, efficiently and quietly, and that definitely aided in me catching those last 3 fish. But like I say, whenever you're driving away from a trip, you know, you're normally in the van with your mate. I'm in the van here with Brad. You're constantly talking, like, I wonder if we'd have done that night. I wonder if we'd have done that night, you know. And in your head, you get a bit of an idea of how to improve for next year. So even though it's been a phenomenal trip, you'll never see me moaning. Like, if you'd have said to me, Tom, before you go away, you're going to come away having caught 1 carp from a venue that you've never been to before, I would have bitten your arm off for it. But I think as an angler, you know, and everyone watching this will feel the same, you always think, what could I have done better? And that's what I always do. I always analyse what I'd done on that trip, what I could have done better. And I think this time around, what I could have done better is had the technology with me to enable me to find those spots easier. But what's almost gives me a little bit of comfort in knowing I didn't have that. So it wasn't like I had it in the van and then I'm driving at home thinking, now, bloody hell, I should have used that. I never had it. So it's a learning curve. So like I say, fishing is all about a learning curve, and it doesn't matter how often you go, how much you think you know about fishing. Every single time you go, there's always something you can learn, whether that's learning from your own mistakes or learning watching other anglers. And 9 times out of 10, it's watching other anglers, because what other people do, you might not necessarily do. But if they're getting results, you can put that into your fishing and you can capitalise on it. So yeah, it's been a phenomenal week, unbelievable week. The weather has been against us, but then if you go into France late on in the year, heading into winter, what do you expect? It isn't going to be warm, it isn't going to be sunny. But I feel I fished well, given the conditions. I've moved, so I can't say that I didn't move and I was lazy. I feel I've made the most of every situation, but I just feel this time around I potentially could have used technology to my advantage, should I have had it from the very start to have helped me. But don't get me wrong, that's not just for that lake. You know, that lake that we've just fished was very shallow, it was very weedy, it required a little bit more finesse. If it was a bigger lake and it was casting and it was spodding, it could have been a completely different outcome. But yeah, I'm driving home very, very happy, ending the year on a massive high with a couple of proper French giants, spending time with good people, having a good laugh and seeing some big carp on the bank. And yeah, it's been an amazing week out at Deux, Pierres, and I cannot wait to go back again next year.